David J, and I'm a startup junkie. I dropped out of college and started bootstrapping different companies. First was a wedding photography business, and from there started building online communities, and then started building tech companies. And really, because I bootstrapped everything, I didn't have any money, I didn't go out and get venture capital, so I didn't have a whole lot of money to spend to start these businesses. And certainly didn't have a whole bunch of money to blow on Facebook ads, trying to figure out what I was doing. And so I used one simple strategy, and it wasn't easy. It wasn't something that just worked from day one, but it's something that I've used to grow every single business that I have. And these businesses have grown. The largest will do $7 million this year. So it's not just for the startup phase. You can use this word-of-mouth marketing strategy to grow your business and to scale your business. So let's dive in. The founder of LinkedIn said something that really stuck with me. He said, to scale, do things that don't scale. And as we start our businesses, we often get too consumed with, well, that doesn't scale or that doesn't scale. And usually, businesses struggle until the founder or the people running the business realize that they need to focus on things that don't scale. They need to figure out how the business is going to work before they figure out how to scale the business. And this is true for LinkedIn, Airbnb. The founders of Airbnb were struggling, going into massive debt, and the founders said, you know what, we need to go out and figure out what's going on. And so they started staying with their hosts, some of their first hosts. They didn't have very many at the time, and talking to them and going direct to their customer, trying to understand their customers' needs, trying to understand where their customers' problems were. And once they got a handle of that, then they were able to focus on the other problems of their business. But oftentimes we want to put the cart before the horse and think about, those big scale problems, the high class problems, when we don't have high class problems. We have customer problems. And the biggest customer problem that businesses have is not having any customers. And that's where we all start. But we need to realize that that one customer and their problem is what we need to focus on, not our product, not on scaling our business, but we need to focus on our customer's problem. There have been some fantastic studies that have been done recently about word-of-mouth marketing, and one of them by Nielsen found that 92% of consumers would trust recommendations from their friends and family over all other forms of marketing. And I thought about that and I was like, wow, how much time do we all spend thinking through our ad copy or our email blast or what graphic we're going to put up somewhere, when really we should be spending more time with our customers, talking directly to our customers, helping them solve their problems, and then encouraging them to go out and become our sales force, because they're way more effective doing this than we'll ever be. So that was a good kind of reality check for me. Another study that was done to marketing execs, and it was 64% of marketing execs said that word-of-mouth marketing was the most effective form of marketing out there. So even the big dogs, the ones spending millions and millions and millions of dollars in advertising, they know that word-of-mouth is where it's at. And so all companies, big and small, are starting to transition back to what has really driven business all along. That's helping people solve problems, getting a small group of loyal, passionate customers, right? Forbes shared that 100 passionate customers will do more than thousands and thousands, of fans. And so go out there, help people solve their problems, and create a process or adopt the process that I'm going to share here in how to turn them from just a paying customer to a passionate evangelist. Let's dive right in. What I have here is an acronym, ACE, ACE, which stands for Account Client Evangelist. Really just helps me remember it. I don't care what terms you use. But the point is that what we want to do is get a client or a potential client aware of who we are, move them into an account. Now, account doesn't mean they're paying. An account just means that we have their information and we can now contact them. From an account, we want a process to move them into being a paying client. Once they're a paying client, the work doesn't stop. Actually, the work is just beginning, because what we want to do from there is move them from a paying client to a passionate evangelist for our business. So account, client, evangelist is what we want to go through. And what we're going to talk through next are the different ways that we can track that. Nowadays, we have a host of tools available to us, things to put on our website, things to track referrals, all this sort of stuff that we didn't have years ago. But what we want to do is start implementing those things so that we can see where the roadblocks are happening. And that's where it gets really exciting, because once you know where the roadblocks are, now you know where to spend your time, you know where to what to prioritize. And that's often the problem that we have in business. It's not necessarily that we don't know what to do, but we just don't know what to prioritize and do right now. And so this is a great process because it starts to sift that up to the top and gives us clear data on where to spend our time. What I'm going to do here is do a complete overview as quickly as I can on all the different sections. There are 10 different sections, and so I'll blitz through them and then we'll do a deep dive. But if the quick version doesn't interest you, no harm, no foul. Go check something else out. But I think that it will, and I think they'll do wonders in your business if you implement this. So the customer journey here really starts at zero. Now, zero is someone who's never heard of your product, right? They're out there wandering around on the street. They have the problem that you're trying to solve, but they've never heard of you. And so what you're trying to do is move them from 0 to 1. Now, 1 is the first point where you can potentially be aware that this person exists. So the way that we track that is a website visit, right? Somebody comes to your website, ding, there's somebody there. And now you know that somebody's out there who is looking for a product like yours. Stage 2 is that you capture their email. Now, it doesn't mean that they've created an account. Maybe you use something else to capture their email, a case study or some sort of promotion, something like that. But step 2 of the customer journey is where you've captured their email. You now know more specifically who they are. You have the ability to reach out to them. Stage 3 is an account. Now, this is a big, big moment in the customer journey, because now they've taken that proactive step to actually create an account, or maybe reach out to you. You know, maybe you're not a tech product where they create an account. Maybe they've reached out to you to set up an appointment, booked a call, or something like that. But from there, you want to keep moving them down the customer journey. And so stages 4 and 5 are going to be really unique per business. So I'm in tech, so I have these SaaS companies, and I'll give you some examples from those. But basically, stage 4 is that the customer starts to explore the product some more. It's amazing how many people will go and create an account, but never do anything else. And so we found that out because stage 4 for our business, for example, with Warm Welcome, which is a service where you can, personalize the conversation with your clients through video. We found that we needed them to just record their first video, just kind of get over that hump. And so that's stage 4 for us. Moving them down into stage 5 was sharing a video. But one of my other businesses, Agree.com, which does contracts and payments, is obviously different. For that business, stage 4 was them creating their first contract. And stage 5 was them sending that contract out and getting it signed by a potential client. So again, you can customize, stages 4 and 5 to whatever you want them to be based on your business. Step 6 is that they become a client. They pay you, right? Show me the money. This is a big point because it's a point of commitment, right? It takes a lot for somebody to pull out their wallet, give you their credit card. It takes even more for you to get them to commit to letting you charge their credit card every single month, right? That's a big commitment in a relationship. And so stage 6 is a big one, but it's just halfway through the customer journey, right? It's not the end. It's kind of just the beginning in terms of turning them into evangelists. So stage 7 is now making sure that they're actively using your product or actively coming back to your site. If they give you, their credit card and you're billing them each month, but they're really not using the product, well, they're going to churn out. They're going to go away. They're certainly not going to become an evangelist. So we need to keep them moving down the road. Step 8 is getting feedback from them. This is a key thing in creating an evangelist, is getting them to participate in the process, right? They're using your product actively now. Reach out to them, get feedback from them. You can do it through email. We do it through these NPS surveys. And I'm going to talk through this in a deep dive as we get into each section. But this is a really important part of the customer journey. So stage 9 is when they're self-identifying as a promoter, as an evangelist. And again, we use the NPS survey for this. We send out these requests for feedback on a regular basis. And when they raise their hand and say, yeah, I'd recommend this product to a friend, that's when we know they're at stage 9. Step 10 or stage 10 is when they've actually done that. They've actually referred you somebody. And we're going to talk about how you can know that as we deep dive into each section. But each of these is an important step. And, at the beginning of your business, you're going to have an awareness problem. You just need to get people aware of your product. So you're going to be very front loaded. As you start to get more customers, now you're going to be able to use those customers to bring in new customers. So we're going to talk through all sorts of ways of doing that. But there's the quick high level overview. And now let's do the deep dive. So now we get to deep dive into every stage of the customer journey, and starting with stage 1, which is awareness. You're trying to get people aware of your product. You're trying to get that first customer, or maybe first 100 or first 1,000 customers. But the traditional approach, or the way that a lot of people think when they build their first product or start their first business, is, I'm just going to do Facebook ads, and I'm going to build a funnel, and I'm going to blah, 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 blah. And the fact is that really doesn't work at the beginning, for a number of different reasons. But what we are seeing working is content and communication. Content, not about your product, but content about the customer's problem. Remember, we have to stay focused on the customer's problem. They really don't care about your product. They only care about your product to the degree that it helps them solve the problem that they have. So stay focused on that. And when you communicate, when you create content, create stuff that adds value, that builds trust, that establishes you as an expert in the field. Don't create tons of content about your product. Create it about solving their problem. The other way that we're seeing working a lot is direct-to-consumer communication. For years now, we've been in this social media era, and we've really handed over the reins of communication to these social networks, right? You post on Facebook, you post on Instagram, you post on Twitter. Well, now what we're finding is that we've basically given these platforms 100% control of the communication with their customers, maybe outside of email. And that's a big problem, because these social networks have their own agenda. They have their own things that they're trying to drive forward. And so you all know it. When you post, not everyone in your network sees your post. Why is that? Well, because the social network decides, the algorithm decides who sees what. And so let's start moving back to direct-to-consumer communication. Go out, talk to customers, go to user groups, go to industry events, have face-to-face conversations with these people. And then, as you pull them into your network, then you can start to deliver a little bit more broadcast type of content. But start with one-on-one, start with direct-to-consumer communication, and keep that as part of your strategy in moving people forward. Now, the way that we gauge whether somebody's aware of us or not, because again, we want to have every single part of the customer journey be trackable, is a website visit. If somebody hits your website, that means that they're aware of you, they're aware of what you do. And that's trackable, right? You can put a Google Analytics code on your website. You can put a warm welcome code on your website, which allows you to actually engage with them and talk to them and do that direct to consumer approach. We'll even send you a little push notification when they hit your website. So that's kind of fun. Gives you some validation that the work you're doing is working and getting results. So again, you've got to make everything trackable. And so in each stage of the customer journey, we're going to talk about what we're trying to do and then how we track it. So that's step one in getting awareness. And now let's move on to step two. In step two, we're really trying to build trust. And this is because we're going to have a little bit of an ask at this step. We're going to try to collect their email address. That way we can talk directly to them. We can move the relationship along. But in order to do that, you can do a lot of different things. One is video testimonials. These are key. These should be on the homepage of every single website. Remember how we talked about referrals and recommendations? Well, this is a way that you can turn word of mouth marketing into word of mouse marketing. It's now shareable. It can now be viral. Capture video testimonials from your best customers. And it's amazing how long or how far those will go for you. Another thing is by doing a video welcome on your website. Have you ever been to a website and you look through the whole thing and you don't see a single human? I have too. It's on a lot of websites. A lot of websites are really pretty products, well designed, but the humans are gone. Imagine if you walked into an Apple store and there was just products. It'd be a very different feel. There's a reason why at the front of every Apple store, there's somebody there giving you a warm welcome. That's what they call it. That's not just a pitch for my product. They call it a warm welcome. And the reason is because they know the value of that. They know the value of people, and having somebody there to greet you, ask how they can help, goes a long way. And so we should do that on our websites. Put a little video bubble up, wave at your customer, let them click it, talk to them, start to build that relationship as a human to human relationship instead of just a business to consumer relationship. The third is to personalize the experience. How many times do you go back to a website before you actually purchase something? Chances are quite a few. And if you see the same thing every single time, it's kind of flat, it's kind of boring. And so as somebody visits your website, a second, third, fourth time, have it change a little bit. You can do this. You can go to thewebsitecompany.com and start building the website right there. And inside of there, it gives you some really cool tools that allow you to personalize the experience based on location, right? Somebody's visiting your website from California versus Florida. Well, show them something that's relevant to them. It also lets you change your website up based on how many times somebody's been there. So if somebody visits your website a second, third, fourth time, maybe raise that call to action up a little bit, or be a little bit more bold about asking them for something. Say, hey, let's book a call. Welcome back. I see you've been here 3 times. What questions do you have? What can I help with? That goes a long way, and you can do that on your website. So really, really cool stuff. And again, what you're trying to do is move people into the next stage, and you're trying to capture their email address so that you can do that. In terms of email capture, you can do that in a number of different ways, through forms, through request fields, whatever you want. But it's really important that you do that. And then you start building out that email list. So whether you use MailChimp or ActiveCampaign, whatever it is that you're using to kind of host your emails, you can use warm welcome to do that. And then you can send them video emails back, which is great. So again, I don't care what you do. I just want to make sure that whatever you're doing is trackable so that you know when people have moved from one stage to the next. All right, now we get into stage 3. Stage 3 is the first big milestone in the customer journey. You remember we call it the ACE marketing flow, ACE, account, client, evangelist. So stage 3 is when this potential client actually creates an account. You've built enough trust. You've explained things clearly enough. You've defined their problem, and you've spoken to their problem in a way that they understand. And now they believe you, and they're willing to create an account and move into stage 3 of the customer journey. So lots of ways to go about that. Nowadays freemium products are pretty common to just lower the barrier. It's like, hey, if you create an account, we're going to give you something of value. We're going to let you use our product for free. And then we'll offer some premium features that you can pay for, but it lowers the barrier for people to create an account, because they know that they're not going to have to pay ever, and they know that there's going to be some value for them right there inside. Another is free trial. Free trials, people have different opinions on what's better, whether freemium product or free trial. Probably depends on your sales approach, but it's another good way to get people to sign up and create an account. But the most important thing, no matter what type of business model you choose, is a clear call to action. You'd be amazed at the buttons and the call to action that people put on their website. They're just boring and don't really get any results. Read more, learn more, all of that sort of stuff. It's like, no one wants to read more about something. No one wants to learn more. Like, that doesn't really drive them to action at this point. You want something really, really clear. Sign up today, buy today, book a call today. You want something that really tells them what you want them to do. And so look through your website, clean it up, make it more clear, get those calls to action all through your homepage. Like, you should have several of them on your homepage, and make sure that they're very clear on what you want the user to do. So as they create their account, you're now interacting with them. You're now able to speak directly to them. There's all sorts of different things you can do with that email address, whether you want to send it off to another service. You could use Zapier for that. You could send it to different email flows, or you could send it, have it ping your phone with warm welcome so that somebody signed up, and you can send them a video, send them a personal greeting. There's all sorts of stuff you can do, but step 3 in the customer journey is really, really key, because it's when that person has created an account, they've trusted you with some more of their information, and now you get the opportunity to try and move them towards a sale. Step 4 of the customer journey is when the customer is just exploring the product, right? They've already created an account. They're going to poke around a little bit. But it's really important that this process is really clear and linear for their next step. And so whatever sort of product or service you offer, you're going to have a unique piece of the customer journey here. But I'll give you some examples from my companies. So, for example, with Warm Welcome, what we want is, as soon as somebody creates an account, we want them to record or upload a video. Once they've recorded or uploaded a video, we now define them at stage 4 in the customer journey. So we make that really clear, really easy to do, something that they're prompted to do right away. And so that's really important. If you have a service where somebody creates an account and then they have to book a call or book an appointment, get that right up front. Don't make them go down this trail. Remember, they've never been inside of your product, or maybe never been to this part of your website before. And so make it really clear for them on how to do that. And once they've done it, now tag them. Use a service. Again, Zapier could do it, but use a service that tags them inside of whatever CRM you're using, so that you know that they're at that stage. You know that they're moving through, and if they're not, right? Because our goal here is to kind of figure out where the blocks are, where the roadblocks are. And if you have 1,000 people that have created accounts on your website, but only 50 that have actually ever done anything on your website, well, you got a product problem. And so that's what this customer journey is going to help us do. It's going to help us see where those roadblocks are. Some other things that you can do is incentivize people to kind of move through. You can gamify things. You can say, hey, if you do X, Y, and Z, if you record your first video in the first week, we're going to give you a free month of the product. That's an example of incentivizing them to do that. Another thing is to do personal check-in. If you notice that somebody gets to step 4, you could call them and congratulate them. Say, hey, great job. You recorded a video. It's awesome. I'd love to help you move to the next step. Or I'd love to get you to share that video. So that's all key stuff. The personal check-in is, I think, probably the best way. If you want somebody moving through your product, your store, your website, whatever, being available to them at those key moments is really, really important. So be sure to do that. Another one of my products, agree.com, that one we have step 4 being creating a contract. We were just amazed at how many people would come in, create an account, but never create their first contract. And so what we realized is, well, we need to make that process easier. We had a little wizard that they walk through, but we said, you know what? Some people don't want to walk through the wizard. Some people want to just drag and drop their contract on there and be done like that. And so we added that into the mix, and our numbers went up. And so this customer journey will give you things to try, give you things to prioritize, and so you want to notice where people are at. You want to notice if they're getting hung up somewhere. Stage 5 in the customer journey is when the customer moves beyond just exploring the product, and now they're starting to implement it in their business. This is another big moment, because as they implement it, they get more committed to it, they get more engaged in it, and they're moving that much closer to being an actual paid customer. Now, we mentioned in stage 4 different ideas where you can kind of gamify the process to move them along. Another thing that you can do is send them examples of other customers. This is real easy. Just do this through email, or do this personally if you're having a brainstorming session with them, something like that. You can talk through how other people are using the product. That often sparks ideas, and they get it when you explain it in different ways from different industries. Or of course, it's great if you can find a use case that's the direct use case that they have as well. But more than anything, personally helping them. Do this for as long as you can. Personally help people. And as your business grows, hire people to personally help people. This is the best way to move them through the customer journey. Best way to get them to become a customer evangelist for you. So again, I'll give you some examples for us. With Warm Welcome, we talked about stage 4 being a video recorded or uploaded. Well, the next stage for them is to share that video. This is great, because when they share it, they're actually doing marketing for us too, right? Unless they just share it back to one of their other emails or whatnot. But once they share something, it's good for everybody. They're getting over that hump of trying something for the first time, and it's getting you more exposure. We have a similar stage 5 for Agree, where stage 4 was creating a contract. Stage 5 is actually sending it out and getting it signed from somebody. So, for your business, you're going to have unique things for 4 and 5, but more than anything, you want to personally help people through these stages, because again, they're experiencing your product or your service for the first time. And so they're unconsciously incompetent. They don't know what they don't know. They've never gone through this before. And so for you to help them is going to be one of the best ways for you to move them across the customer journey. Stage 6, this is a great stage, because this is when they pull out their wallet, pull out their credit card and they pay you. This is the moment where I think we can all celebrate a little bit, but don't stop. A lot of people think of stage 6 as the end of the customer journey. Hey, once you get them to be a customer and they're paying you, move on to the next customer. No. Stage 6 is the beginning of them becoming an evangelist, because now there's a commitment, right? Now they're using your product, they're paying you for, your service, depending on your business model. But it's really important not to stop here. And so some ways to kind of encourage this, limited time trials. You can kind of pressure people a little bit. This is a business relationship. You're spending your time, your energy building something. There's nothing wrong with you selling it. And so don't be shy about that. You can offer usage limits. This is kind of in a freemium model where it's like, hey, you've got this much for free and now it's time to pony up. And people understand that. They understand that there's a cost for you. And so they're willing to pay for that. Another thing that we like to do is to do price raises. Instead of discounts and sales, which can kind of devalue your product, what we'll do is a price raise. And we'll notify everyone who's created an account or is on a free plan. We'll say, hey, we're going to be raising our plan or raising our prices. But if you sign up before this date, you're going to lock in the lowest rate that we'll ever offer. And so it's kind of a reverse sale, but it drives a lot of people to purchase, creates the urgency that's needed, and it often gets huge groups of people to move without you having to offer a discount. Now, in terms of collecting money, lots of different ways you can do that: Stripe, Square, PayPal. But the key thing here is to make it easy for people to pay you. It's mind-boggling how many businesses I interact with, and they're so old school. They want me to write them a check, and I'm like, I don't even know where my checkbook is, or they have some odd invoicing system that I can't even figure out. It's like, I'm in tech. And so anyway, I got so frustrated by that I created agree.com to make it simple and fast and easy to get paid. And so don't make it difficult for people to pay you, right? Make it simple, make it easy. There's a million options out there, and pick one. And when somebody's ready to buy, make sure they can do that right then and there. So after somebody's ponied up and paid, and now they're a customer and there's a commitment there, what you want to do is consistently add value to them. And you might think, well, I've already given them the product. I've given them everything that I can give them. No, you haven't. One way to consistently add value to them is to feature them. A lot of people really want that exposure. We all want it. I mean, if we're honest, we all want to be recognized for the work that we're doing. And so create a newsletter, email it out to your database, your customer list, talk about what a great job this customer is doing and how your product's helping them do it, right? It's mutually beneficial, but it's really valuable to them. And so that's really important. Another thing is just consistent communication with them. A lot of businesses, you pay them and they disappear. And none of us appreciate that. And so consistently communicate with your customers. That's really, really important. And it's a way to show them that, hey, you want this relationship to keep moving, keep going forward. Another thing that you can do to add value is to build a community around your customer base. This is a great way. It'll lower churn. It will increase the relationships that are formed. It's really, really a great thing for your business. And so build a community. You can do that in the old school way, just through emails. You can build a little online community through Facebook, or there's a million community platforms out there now. But it's a great thing to do. So I'd suggest building a community. The way that we track this is through daily visits. If somebody's coming to your website or to your product every single day, you know that relationship is moving forward, right? Because you have their attention. Every single day, you have their attention. And so get Google Analytics up there or do some development work and be able to tell how many of your users are visiting your site every single day and who are they, right? Because the ones that aren't, you want to be able to notify, you want to be able to pull them back in through content. You don't have to do huge feature updates or anything like that. Pull them back into content, pull them back into community, pull them back into communication. And you'll find that that's a great way to get them to move from 6 to 7 and then 7 to 8. All right, we're moving on to stage 8 in the customer journey. And stage 8 is feedback. It's really important to ask your customers for feedback. It makes them feel valued and it gives you the information that you need in order to improve your product or improve your service. And so when you ask a customer for feedback, it's important to remind them of the value that your business is bringing, right? And so you can do that through email newsletters. You can do that right inside your app. You can do that with kind of monthly reviews. But that's a key thing, is not to just ask them to help you and give you feedback without reminding them of who you are and what you do for them. Now, one way that we've kind of gotten feedback from people is through these price raising campaigns that we've done. We talked about those in one of the previous steps. But when you talk about raising the price, you're somewhat forced into telling them why you're raising the price, and you're inviting the feedback from them, right? Because it kind of riles people up. Like, wait, what? I was using this and now you're going to raise the price? And so it's a great time to request feedback, get people involved in what you're doing. And then make sure that you follow up on that feedback. If they just feel like they're sending this off into an abyss, they're gonna feel like you don't value them, and they went out of their way to offer this feedback. And so make sure to follow up on every single piece of feedback that you get. Now, we use the NPS system, Net Promoter Score system, for doing this. There's a bunch of different tech products that can deliver NPS surveys to people. I think it's the best one. I think it's simple. It's easy for people. People have gotten them from Apple and gotten them from other businesses, so they're familiar with the process. But if you want to just send out an email to all your users and say, hey, we'd love to get any feedback that you have, that's a great way to get started too. And so what's important is that you continue to do it. It's not a once a year thing. Send it every quarter, maybe even every month at the beginning, but send it at least every quarter. And the reason we'll get into in step 9. All right, here we are at step 9. Now, step 9 is where we want the customer to self-identify as a promoter, self-identify as an evangelist. And this is done again through the NPS system. So as you're sending out the NPS surveys, it says, hey, on a scale from 0 to 10, how likely are you to refer this product or service to a friend? And when they click 9 or 10, they're self-identifying as somebody who would promote you, who would refer you, who would recommend you to one of their friends. And so when somebody does that, that's when we know they've reached stage 9. Doesn't mean they've actually referred you anybody. Doesn't mean that they're actually an evangelist for you. But what it means is that they've self-identified as that. And so moving them then from 9 to 10 is what we'll get to. But what's really key here is the relationship and the mutual value that both sides need to feel. The customer needs to feel valued, obviously, and the value and the relationship needs to be there from the business. And so make sure that as people move from a client from stage 6 all the way through to stage 10, that you increase the amount of relational connection to the customer, because now more than ever, after the last couple of years and after so much craziness in our world, people are really desiring that connection. They're desiring to go through work with other people, and the businesses that we work with and the colleagues at work are part of that. And so keep that value forward, keep the relationship forward, and keep the communication going. That's going to be kind of the trigger points for them. So when they feel valued, when the relationship is moving, when the communication is consistent, that's going to be what helps them move forward. So the tools for this are the same. There's promoter.io. I think Delighted is another one. Bunch of NPS tools. Implement one, or just send these emails out consistently and ask for feedback from people and give them the opportunity to self-identify as a promoter. Stage 10, you've made it. You've made it through the entire customer journey. You've turned somebody into an evangelist. They're now referring you customers. They're now a free sales force for you. This is the goal. And this is where so many of our clients have landed. Now, we've had detractors and haters as well. That's part of the game. Not everyone's going to love you. But in order to get someone to step 10, one thing that I think is really, really powerful is to ask them for a video testimonial. Remember in one of the earlier stages, I think it was 1 or 2, we talked about the power of video testimonials. Well, one of the reasons why they're so powerful is not what happens when they're shared, but it's actually what happens when the person records it. Because when you ask somebody for a video testimonial, what they then have to do is think through the process of what they're going to say. Then they have to say it. And that's often the hardest part in anything, is just getting started. And so getting them started, jump starting the referral process can be done by asking people for video testimonials. And it can be easy. You're sitting down with a client at a coffee shop and chatting with them and say, hey, I'm working on my website, or I'm working on my marketing campaigns. Would you mind if I shot a quick video of you just talking through what it's been like to work with me? Chances are 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 are going to say, yeah, sure, let's do it. And when they record that and they say it once, it's now that much easier for them to say it the second, third, fourth, fifth time. And so jumpstart that process for them. It's really, really powerful. And then you have that content that you can go out and share, which is great. You can offer incentives. Hey, if you give us a testimonial, then we'll give you a free month. If you're going to do something like that, I'd just be cautious with it. It can start to feel a little bit slimy. If you're going to do something, I wouldn't offer financial rewards for that. I would offer like buy one, give one. Like, hey, if you give us a testimonial, then we're going to give you the opportunity to give someone else a discount, or something like that, where you're not like giving them something for the testimonial, because then it just feels like you're buying it, but you're giving them the ability to actually go and kind of back up what they said. Something else here, in order to create evangelists, it's important to create a common language. And you can do this through message mapping, which we can get into in another video. But creating a really clear and common language that you continue to say to your customers makes it that much easier for them to refer you. If you're constantly talking about how easy your product is to use, what you'll find is that when people refer you, they talk about how easy your product is to use, because they hear it over and over and over again. And so that's a good thing. The way we track referrals, the way we do it is with a program called First Promoter, but there's lots of places where you can get, where you can create referral links and things like that. But also just ask. Ask your customer base, have you referred us? We'd love to send you a thank you. We'd love to recognize you. We'd love to value you, because we're a word of mouth company. Like, we only grow if you share with your friends and family about the experience that you had. And so, you can do it as simple as through emails. But again, I love the personal approach. And so ask your customers, like, hey, have you referred to someone? Because we'd love to thank you. If you haven't, we'd love to know why not. Do you have any feedback for us? Another great way to pull in feedback. So there's all 10. I know that was a deep dive, and there's lots to unpack there. But the important thing is that you start to move people down that customer journey. You start to see where the roadblocks are, and you start to understand where to prioritize your time. So thanks for watching, and send me a video back or send me an email back. I'd love to be in touch, and I wish you all the best.